These are 10 challenges that every single entrepreneur will face on their journey to success. Let's get started here with number one. One of the most common challenges, especially if you're just starting out, I hear this all the time from young entrepreneurs or even just young self-employed people that are starting to build their path, starting to make an income, is this. Is no more 9 to 5. No more 9 to 5. Work never ends in entrepreneurship. And that is something that for a lot of people, it's a tough lesson out there. It's a tough lesson. They jump into this business. They think, yeah, sure, it allows you a lot of freedom. You can take time off whenever you want. However, work never ends. If you want to be successful, if you want to have your business take off, your work will never end. There's always more to do, and there's never enough hours to do it. There's no more stable lifestyle of you wake up at 8 o'clock, whatever, you get dressed, and you're out the door by 8:30, whatever, you packed your lunch, you head to the work, you're late by 5 minutes at 9:05, whatever. You work there, you get your lunch break, 12 o'clock for half an hour, and then you work till 5 o'clock and you head home and you have a half-hour commute. There's none of that. None of that. In entrepreneurship, I always talk about this. I could have a day where I take a complete day off, very rarely, but maybe by taking a day off, I mean work 2 hours at home or something. And then most of the time, I'm here 13, 14, 15 hours a day in the office, in the studio, doing something, getting ready to go. There's no stability. You do something different every single day. And so if you want that stable lifestyle, this isn't for you. Entrepreneurship is not for you. I can tell you that. Number two is, I didn't know what to call this, so I just called it a dip in income. And this is a shock for most people. So I do always recommend that start a side business first on top of your main job. And once the side business, once you're comfortable enough, then you can go into that full time. Okay, so that kind of limits this. But for a lot of people, whether it's when you start a business and you have no money, or maybe your business has been going great. It's been going great. You've been making $1 million a year. You've been making tons of money. And then reason XYZ hits, and your income dips to 500, your revenue dips to 500K and your company's losing money. Or it dips to 100K and you're about to lose the company and you have to sell it off or go bankrupt. Or maybe you're just a self-employed person making 100K and everything's going great, and then boom, recession hits. Or boom, market crashes, or your sector is no longer needed, or for some YouTubers it was just getting a copyright strike and your income goes to zero. People cannot tolerate those dips in income, and that makes them go back to that other lifestyle. Instead of trying to figure out a way to get around this or to survive this dip, they just give up. They just give up. If I gave up every time I had a dip in income in any of my businesses, I would have quit 15 times. 15 times I would have quit. Even though I did have 17 businesses that failed, but these are, in terms of my ones that are successes, my 3 ones that are successes, I would have quit 15 times already. So finding a way to tolerate that big dip in income, whether it's going from 100K to 20K, or whether it's going from 50 to 0 or 50 to 40, you got to find a way to tolerate that and get around that. That's a challenge that every single entrepreneur will face. And tell you what, not everyone will succeed. Not everyone will get by that obstacle. Number 3, the 24/7, I don't even know how to spell this word, inconveniences. 24/7, you're going to have problems. Any business, online, bricks and mortar, banking, investing, you're going to have a problem all the time. Every single day. Not every day. You might not have a problem every day, but you're going to have problems all the time. They could happen if you're a real estate investor. I know people that have gotten calls about their property at 2 a.m. Hey, problem, you got to come fix it. Okay, it's 2 a.m., but it's your property. You got to go. You got to go. Whether it's, I remember one of my mom's stores, this was back in a decade ago when she used to run some diamond stores, she had one of her places robbed. Lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now everyone was okay, luckily, but still, that's a major problem. You have to reboot somewhere. You got to restart. Okay, the 24/7 inconvenience. So for some of you online businesses, I always talk about this, you're going to have lots of problems. You're going to have your website fail. You're going to have your podcast go down. You're going to have format changes. You're going to have YouTube does XYZ. You know, those are just some online examples. Maybe Fiverr goes down. Maybe your account is shut down or suspended or something. You're going to have 24/7 inconveniences. You got to be ready for those. 90% of entrepreneurship is putting out fires. That's what it is. That's what I've learned. That's what I've learned in my past few years. Most of it's just putting out fires. Very little of it has to do with actually growth. Most of it's just putting out fires. So we're going to move on to number 4. Number 4 is, I avoid this at all costs. People. Number 4 is people problems. So this is, think if you have employees, some people think they're too good for the company. I mean, I was one of those employees. I was one of them. And most of you probably are too. Like, I could run this place 10 times better than this person could. But meanwhile, like, you didn't start the company. You haven't had to run it for 10 years. You don't know how to make it better than, you might know some ways to make it better than it is. But odds are you're not going to be able to run it better than your boss 99% of the time. And so that's what a lot of employees are like. That's what I was like. You're going to have people that think that they're too good for your company, too good to work with you. Maybe they aren't doing their job properly, or they lied to you on their resume, or you don't get along with them. Maybe they're just not the person you thought they were. And maybe they just think that they're just better than you. Or maybe they're just using this job for something else. Or maybe they're not the right partner for you. Maybe your customers are mad at you. Maybe whoever you bought this service from, maybe they didn't do it properly. There's always going to be people problems, and you got to know how to deal with it. You got to learn how to deal with people problems. Or just deal with no people. But that's really, really tough in business. In fact, I don't think that you can do that, to be honest. Although I guess that you can have like a handful of clients and be a hedge fund guy like Ray Dalio, who has like 10 clients that pay him $1 billion. You only have to deal with 10 people then, that way. But people problems all the time when you run a business. And you know what, specifically, I've heard this from just following entrepreneurs. I mean, especially if you're on a bricks and mortar business, you got 20, 30, 40 employees at your place taking shifts, I can guarantee you 25% of them you're going to have problems with. That's just the way it is. That's the way it works. Maybe even half sometimes. So it's going to suck. You're going to have people problems. Number 5. This is one that I actually don't talk about a lot. Lonely. Now, if you're like me, loneliness, I'm fine with it. But for a lot of people, always talk about this, and it is a part of it. I usually don't mention this in videos because I'm fine. I rarely get lonely, even though I'm by myself 10 to 14 hours of the day, and usually I meet with someone else like 1 or 2 hours a day. I'm largely by myself all day. Are you guys going to be able to tolerate that? And a lot of you, if you're starting a business online, if you're starting a business bricks and mortar, a lot of that work's going to be, at home. At home, you're going to be lonely. You're going to be in your own private office at your office building. You might be if you're running a convenience store, you're going to be the only person there, selling it all day, 8 hours a day. So, I mean, that's something that not a lot of entrepreneurs talk about. Especially when you start, it's lonely. It's lonely. It's going to be all on you when you start. Are you okay with that? I know that cuts out half people right there. Half the people on the planet right there just can't tolerate that. That's why they won't become entrepreneurs. Loneliness. They're gonna think that they can run a business, then they're like, oh, I have to do this all by myself. So I guess that's also good to get a partner a lot of the times. Get a partner or usually it's good to get 2 partners, but if you can get at least 1 partner that you can work with half of the day, just psychologically, that's better for you too. Sure, you're giving up equity in the company. Psychologically, that's better for you. Plus, you guys can get more done. So if you are one of those people that can't tolerate loneliness, if you're an entrepreneur, find someone else. Find someone else, give up some equity, partner with someone that you trust. We're going to move on here. Number 6. So this is a rite of passage. My boss once told me this was probably even when I was 18, before I actually started any businesses, apart from investing in stocks. I don't consider that a business though, but he told me that it's a rite of passage when you start a business to get your first lawsuit. Especially bricks and mortar businesses. I mean, I know pretty much, I think every single entrepreneur that I've met has been sued at some point. I mean, most. Maybe there's probably 2 or 3 that probably haven't yet. but they haven't really been around longer than about 5 or 10 years. So it's kind of like a rite of passage. You're going to have legal problems. You're going to have employees sue you for wrongful whatever. You're going to have labor unions come after you. That's what's going to happen if you're running bricks and mortar. And so I guess you're going to have patent. I mean, there's always those stories about people that start apps or a new piece of tech or software, and company X, Facebook, goes, hey, you're infringing on our patent. Screw you guys, we're going to sue you. Or doesn't McDonald's or all those big companies used to do that too for food companies? Monsanto, suing farmers. That's what happens. You're going to get sued probably at some point. Now, luckily for me, I haven't done that. Hopefully I don't have to do that ever. I don't want to, but it's something that is going to happen eventually. I can almost guarantee you that, whether it's you have sometimes, I remember there was this one lawsuit of my mentor who, I think it was an employee or a customer, literally just fell in one of his, I don't know if it was office spaces or restaurants or something, but fell and had to go to the hospital and had a broken leg or pelvis or hip or something like that, and he was getting sued. Like what? He wasn't even in the building. And the person just fell, oh, you know what, I fell on your property. You know what, I'm going to sue you. I don't know how that lawsuit turned out. I'm guessing that he won that case because he didn't really think it was too serious. But what I'm trying to say here is that you're probably going to have a lawsuit even if it's not really your fault. That's what's going to happen. So we're going to move on to number 7 here. This goes along the lines of lonely, and this is finding your core team. This is something that I'm assembling right now. You got to build your Avengers, guys. You got to be Nick Fury. You got to have the eye patch specifically for this to work. You got to have the eye patch, and at the end of the credits of every movie, you got to go up and recruit someone. That's the way it's got to go. For me, so I'm getting into real estate investing. Unfortunately, for actual government legal purposes, they will not give me a loan for at least 1 more year, even though I'm making really good money. And so I either pay cash or I got to wait or go to a private lender. The private lenders I talked to already, they're like, yeah, frick, we'll take you on, but the interest rate's only going to be 13%. So I'm not doing that, but assembling your core team. So for me, real estate investing, I've already got 2 people down. So I got my broker. I'm not going to be the agent. I could have been my agent for my own real estate investing, but I don't want to deal with that side of the business anymore. I'm kind of done with agency and brokerages and so on. So assembling my broker, all right, someone that I can go to look for properties. Property manager, I've already talked to a bunch of people, someone that's willing to go to the place to fix it, to maintain it, so on. I don't know what to call this person, the contractor, renovator, and so on. That's someone I already have locked in, is good to go whenever I'm ready. And so you got to assemble your team. I also have a tax guy ready to go. I've had them for a while now. And now the last one I got to get is probably a lawyer of some sort in the future for just to transfer deeds and also if I get sued and so on. So you got to, whatever your business is, you got to assemble your team. You got to assemble your team. And you know what? A lot of people, it's going to take a while. For me to at least get 3 of my members, it's taken 2 years, about a year and a half or so. And so that's going to be a challenge, finding people that are appropriate for your business. And make sure, don't just pick the first person you talk to. If you're looking for a lawyer, talk to 5 of them. Talk to 5 or 10 of them. See which one's best for you. That's what I recommend. So assembling your Avengers team. Number 8 is doing everything. This is a major challenge that kills a lot of people too. People don't realize, here, I'll tell you a little bit of an example here. So the people at the top of the company, if they are the founders specifically, odds are, if you're employee, whether you're employee number 10 or employee number 100 or 500, odds are they did part of your job at some point. If they are a founder. And that's what I always try to drill into employees specifically. Do they deserve to get paid more? Yes. How much more? Should they get paid $500 million while you're making 40 grand? Probably not. In some scenarios, that's probably okay. But most scenarios, probably not. But think about this. Why people at the top of the company are the most valuable is because they can do a little bit of everything. I can do a little bit of everything. That's one of the reasons why I got my corporate job, was because I could replace 2 people. That's why I got hired when I was 18 to essentially what would have been a 50 grand a year job at the age of 18 with just a high school diploma, and that's it. So anyways, doing everything, you got to be able to do everything, got to be every aspect of your business. We're talking sales, branding, making the product. You probably have to, if you're manufacturing something, you probably have to hire a manufacturer, but you have to deal with that. Negotiations, you might have to deal with getting a loan. You might have to deal with a lot of the graphic design work. You might have to deal with all of the social media. You're going to have to deal with everything. You're going to have to deal with employees. You're going to have to hire people, do payroll, taxes. You're going to have to be the accountant. You're going to have to do everything when you start. You're going to have to be the jack of all trades. That's what I was called, actually, the jack of all trades, because I could do a little bit of everything. That's what I was. One of my nicknames at my old company was the jack of all trades. So, doing a little bit of everything, that's a challenge. Are you ready for it? Most people aren't. We're going to move on to number 9 here. Number 9. Well, this depends on your space, but odds are there's going to be at least a little bit of competition. Now, in an online world, if you're doing some sort of social media stuff, which I know a lot of you like to do, you're not going to have as much competition. You might have a little bit for attention and so on. Like Gary Vee says, I'm trying to compete for your attention, right? Well, you're going to have competition in pretty much every other aspect of business. Bricks and mortar, online, you're going to have some sort of competition. And are you ready for some people that are trying to drill you into the ground? One of my mentors he started a restaurant chain, and his ex-partner that was going to start the company with him started his own restaurant chain of the exact same branding, except literally just twisting a few things so that there wasn't an overlap of trademark. Two of the exact same companies. Like literally, they do the exact same thing, serve the exact same food. Their names are very similar, very similar. And that's what happens. My mentor just started his business. Someone else came along with some competition. Are you ready to deal with that and put them in the dust? Some people aren't. Some people will drown in competition. Some people will rise to the top. That's what you got to do. Rise to the top. Number 10 here. This is going to be the last one, I think. Is not enough time. There's not enough time to do everything in your business. There never is. That is the thing that I knew a lot of these going into building a business. That is the one where I did not realize the scope of it. Not having enough time for anything. Now, whether it's not having enough time for your business, that's one thing. Not having enough time to work on your business, that's one thing. The whole other thing is you're not going to have enough time to see your family, your friends, watch TV, play video games, do your hobbies. You're not, especially when you're starting the first 2 years, you're not going to have any time for anything. That is something that's a shock to most people. It's a shock to the system. And that's one of those things that separates the successful entrepreneurs from the ones that are unsuccessful. Are you willing to deal with that shock of not having enough time to do stuff that you find fun? Now, the cure to that is be passionate about your business and have fun with whatever you're doing. I love coming into the office every day. That's why I'm successful. Why I'm here 10, 14, 15, 16 hours a day, because it's fun and I love it. And that's what you guys have to do. If you guys are starting your business, you gotta love it. You gotta be okay with not having enough time for anything. You have to accept that. But you also have to put in as much time as you can to be successful. And then in the long run, you can take days off. Like now I have complete freedom, take days off whenever I want to. I don't, but I have the freedom to do so if I so choose. So that's gonna wrap this video up. What do you guys think? Have you faced any of these challenges when starting your businesses? Let me know in the comments below. Feel free to check out my Wealth Accelerator course. If you liked this video, you're gonna like that one 110%. We've had a lot of people in that course, so check out the Wealth Accelerator, link down below. Teaches you how to build a business, side business, what I did, some things that you have to know, and so on. So thank you very much for watching. You're all very beautiful people. I'll see you guys in the next video.